Hello, everybody. I am MrGamingGuitarist, and I had some stuff in my throat. But goddamn, this episode of The Flash was great. You know what? There can be arguments that are made by saying that last week's episode was a main storyline episode and this week's episode was just a filler, but I enjoyed this week's episode much better than last week's. Because remember when I told you that something felt a bit off, whereas with this one, it felt right at home. And so first of all, the first thing I want to talk about is Killer Frost was back, and I was not expecting her to return. Oh, I know, of course, sorry, where are my manners? Please do not watch this review if you haven't seen tonight's episode, which was called Back to Normal. So, of course, like I say in all my other TV reviews, full spoilers for this episode. So please watch tonight's episode of The Flash, and then come back and watch this review. Okay, so yeah, I was not expecting her to come back. I mean, I knew that that Killer Frost was in there, but it never resonated. But it never popped up in my head that she might show up. So when Caitlin and Cisco, when Caitlin meets Killer Frost for the first time, that raised the hair on my arms. Just like, oh shit, I know this is going to be good. And I thought the scenes of the two of them together were great. And especially how it was Danielle Panabaker pretty much just talking to herself the whole time. And it's always interesting when you're seeing the same actor play two different characters in movies and TV shows. I always thought that was really... it's always interesting whenever you see that. So, and I thought she did a great job doing both parts with her interacting with yourself, because, I mean, that must be very strange when you have to act with yourself in the same scene. That's a tricky thing to pull off, and she handled it very well. And so the other thing that I noticed, too, in those scenes is we got to hear more about Caitlin's background. Like, she said that she had a brother, and how her relationship with her mom wasn't that great, and how Killer Frost flunked out of med school or college or one of those things, how she flunked out, and yet Caitlin still remain the way she is that we know. And I thought that was very interesting, seeing the different dynamics. And yet when she tried to help Killer Frost escape, and then she said, oh, because and then it was like, it almost looked like Frost was able to complete Caitlin's sentence, and like, oh, so she still has that smart part of her locked in away somewhere in tiny percentages. And I thought that was very neat. And of course, but the other thing too that happens, of course, is once, and here's the thing: they keep on teasing the man in the iron mask, and yet we still have no idea who he is. And it's really killing me on the inside, because I really want to know who is he. And I have a feeling that, like, some people might have thought that the reveal of Zoom being Jay Garrick / Hunter Zolomon, some people felt very let down by that. But I really hope that when the man in the iron mask is revealed and we know they're going to show who he is, by the end of the season, we know they will. I hope that my brain is blown. My brain will jump out of my skull and fly out the window. I hope that is what will happen. So anyways, but the one part that made me lose my shit more than anything else in this entire episode, we saw Zoom phase through Caitlin and stab Killer Frost with one of her own icicles and kill her with it. I didn't know you could do that. I thought that if you phased through, if a speedster phases through a person, that they're just dead. But yet, so I'm gonna assume for some reason, if a regular speedster tries to phase through a person, they're just dead. But now it looks like if she tried, like if Zoom now, because now it looked like Barry was 4 times faster than Zoom now. So last week after he got that tachyon accelerator thing, but so now I'm going to guess that Zoom, because Barry was 4 times faster than Zoom. Now we have to. Now I'm going to just guess that this means Zoom is now 8 times faster. So because he's 8 times faster than Barry is, then I'm going to assume he's moving so fast that phasing through people just won't is just a possible thing that he can do now. Which still, I was not expecting to see that, and when it did, I had a fucking nerdgasm because that shit blew my ass away. Sorry, still dealing with a post-cold. Each day is getting better. And so the other thing that I wanted to talk about was Jessie. We saw her come back, and I knew that Jessie was going to come back, but I never knew that she was going to come back so quickly. And so it's good to see. And it almost looked like she was replacing Caitlyn. Not replacing, but it looks like she could have taken the place of her. Because she said, oh yeah, biochem was just one of my 5 majors. I'm like, really? One of your 5 majors? So, yeah, that was something. And sorry. It reminded me of how Curtis on Arrow, it looked like he could take the place of Felicity's role in the Arrow Cave. That's what Jessie reminded me. Like, she could take the place of Caitlyn. She could do kind of the same type of things that Caitlyn does temporarily while we try to get Caitlyn back. So that looks so she brought a good dynamic, and I really liked the conversation that she had with Wells, how they made the new promise that he will never try to go back to that dark place again. And so it's good that they patched for now at least, it seems they've patched things up and things are looking bright for the future of Jessie and Harrison's relationship. And so we saw this guy, I forget what his name was, I know his last name was Gray, but I thought that he was interesting for idea. You know, he's a villain of the week, so you can't say too much about him, but I did like the effects of him aging, and the stronger he gets. I thought that was pulled off really well, and I wonder if that was all CG, or if it was all like makeup, and if they just applied that makeup to the same actor, and they like changed his voice, like they modulated his voice to make him sound older. I don't know how that worked, but I thought that was a really cool effect, and that just gives props to the visual effects team. They really they do a fantastic job week after week after week. So I really enjoyed seeing that. And it was also interesting seeing Barry without his powers, seeing how he functions like a regular person. And we got to see Iris have that one talk with Barry, and how Iris said that she didn't go on that date with Scott last week because she felt like she wanted to be closer to Barry. And it felt like, for 1 second, when they were talking, how Barry was telling Iris, I thought that was a great scene with the two of them, with Grant Gustin and Candace Patton. I thought that their scene together, where they were just staring at the Flash suit, and he was telling her, you were the very first person I saved, and I didn't know what I could do, but all I knew was that I wanted to save you. That, I thought that was very nicely well written, well performed scene. And then we got to see Wally. He wanted to thank the Flash for saving his life during that one time at the race when he got him out of that car when that piece of glass stabbed Iris. And it really shows how much Wally is growing as a character. And it's still really interesting that he still doesn't know who the Flash is, and I wonder just how much longer they're going to keep at that. I just hope that Wally knows Barry is the Flash sooner than later, because of course we all know in the comics Wally himself becomes a speedster. So is that like late season 3 things? Because I mean, oh fuck, Wally West and Barry Allen, both speedsters working together, that will be a dream come true on the silver screen if I ever see it. And so the other thing too is that, but then when we saw, so that final, like towards the end of this episode, when we saw Caitlin, when we saw, so I thought that was very nice, like kind of a nice thing, how we see Zoom start getting these flashbacks where it looks like he's about to snap, where he almost gets like these PTSD quick memories back to when his dad killed his mom. And like the way that Caitlin says, "You're a monster," that's how Hunter's mom called his dad a monster, and how whenever he just says Hunter, like that thing, I wonder if they're going to keep playing at that, and if he'll eventually fully, completely, 100% snap. And I liked how he said he couldn't kill Killer Frost because she looked like Caitlin. And it's still really weird. I don't understand why Zoom, I can understand why Jay Garrick loves Caitlin. I don't know why Zoom or why Hunter. I don't know why Hunter loves Caitlin, because because we know that the Jay Garrick that we knew that was a time remnant. So aren't those technically just two different people? And so why would he still feel the affections? Why would he feel like is also in love with Caitlin? Can someone explain that to me? Because I don't know how, like, the feelings that a time remnant has, that stays with the other person in all the same timelines. Can someone explain that to me? Someone smarter that actually that is really hardcore into Flash comics. I would appreciate if you could find that explanation. I don't know how that works. But when Hunter tells Caitlin, "That's right, this Earth is already fallen to its knees," then he says, "All right, Caitlin, let's go home," because he wants to conquer the other Earths. Oh, all the goosebumps started happening. And did you see how giant Caitlin's eyes got? Like, she looked like this. Like, she looked like she's about to shit herself from how scared she was. But man, so Zoom tries to conquer Earth 1. But then I was kind of getting a bit nervous. Because this is the first time it cut to an after credit scene in this episode, and we got to see a very long scene of Harry talking to Barry about how he's going to help get his speed back, and that was the longest post credits or before credits, or you know what I mean, right? Okay, when the Flash logo shows up and then they have the extra scene. This felt like the longest extra scene in the entire show's history. And this just looked really, really well done. And for a while, I thought maybe Zoom is going to come in here. And for a second, it looked like he was going to go into Star Labs and just kill Harry right there. I don't know. But that's what it looked like. And because I was wondering, why is that scene going on for so long? And then they said it. It's to recreate the particle accelerator. And my God, I got so excited when I heard that they were going to recreate the particle accelerator explosion. Because that scene where where Barry tries to get his powers back, that is right out of Flashpoint. Where he gets Thomas Wayne's help, where he tries to get struck by lightning again, and like even that contraption he set for himself, that looks like the exact same thing that he does in the comic and in the animated movie. And then we get to see his dad come back. We get to see Henry Allen return, and I really can't wait to see that because John Wesley Shipp, anytime he pops into an episode, it always makes for some great scenes, and I can't wait to see that next week. So, anyways, let me know what you thought of this week's episode, and I loved this episode. I would give this an 8, a very solid 8.5 out of 10 for me. So, anyways, I will see you guys on my next video. So you can check out the N4G TV podcast for brand new, where you can watch my weekly podcast on the N4G TV YouTube channel, and you can support my channel on Patreon. I would very much appreciate it. And alright guys, I'll see you for next week's episode of The Flash. Goodbye.